Oh, I am so pissed off right now about that. I am so pissed off about that right there. The feeder just went off.
Yeah.
The damn video quit.
No.
And here we are. And it did the same thing last week, and I have no idea why it did that. So I'm gonna put it back up here. And you know what, Ron? Will the fish eat again?
They'll eat again.
Dang it! That is so freaking aggravating. Why don't you set that feeder off?
They'll eat again, right? And the thing, thing about it goes off for 20 seconds. It's throwing big pellets, so and so we say these fish should eat what they can eat. Feed them what they can eat in 15 minutes. But they're already done. By the time the feeder went off, now we're back on.
Jeez, oh my gosh, this is such a good show going on, and the freaking something happens to cut the video. If you set the feeder off again, will the fish eat?
Yes.
Let's feed it. Set it off.
Let's see. And it's gonna go off again
at 10 after.
7.
All right. Well, let's figure it out. God dang it, that's so aggravating. Woo! I don't get that. Well, we got a technical issue, and I'm gonna have to figure it out. Oh, there they go. Yeah, feed those things, man. I want everybody to see the fish eat. How freaking aggravating is that? Folks, I don't know what happened there because we got a great show going on, and it just died right there. Dadgummit. And I hope you rejoin us because we're going to watch these fish eat again while I'm calling up on my laptop so I can see what's going on. There we go. There goes the feeder. There we go. There's some fish eating. Now you see it. There we go. My mama used to say, if it ain't one thing, it's another. By golly, she's right. So there we go. There's some fish eating, and the majority of those are bluegills, and the sizes range from. As a matter of fact, while you're up, you've caught a bluegill earlier today, I think, and you've got it over here in a aerated container. So Ron's going to grab that fish, and we're going to take a look at it. And my deepest apologies, folks. I don't have any idea why this thing just did that. No idea. But we're going to move on. We're going to carry on. We're going to talk, and we're going to see some fish. Oh, Lord, he's getting his measuring stick out. I'm going to pour some more wine. There's some in his goblet. There's a little bit in Bob's goblet. And so now, Ron's going to snag a fish and let us see what it looks like. He's got some really nice bluegills. Condello, Bruce, if you're still there, man, let us know. There's Matt Marsden checking in. Hey, guys, appreciate you guys checking back in on this thing after a little collapse 2 minutes ago.
This is a smaller one. That one's only 8.5.
Oh, no, show it to him anyway.
Okay.
People like, how old are these fish? 2.5 years old?
Not even 2.5, about 2 and, well, you can say 2 years, 3 months.
Yeah, so let's take a look at them. So Ron's about to circle back. Guys, I'm not going to harp on it. I don't know why this damn thing quit, but it did. Jim Morgan's back up there. We got 12 people. Man, the timing could not have been any worse. Okay, so, hey, Bruce, if you're there, look at this bluegill. Now, this bluegill's how old do you think?
A little over 2 years. 2 years and a couple months.
All right, let's see it. Pick it up there. You got to get it up. Pick it up. There we go. Take a look at that.
I'm dripping all over his computer, but yeah, it's a 9-inch bluegill.
So there's a 9-incher that is 2 years old, right?
2 years old, yeah.
2.5 years old. So that fish would have been spawned in the spring of 2017. So now we're in the spring of 2020. So it's moving into its 3rd year. That's really good. There's Ken Jacobs. He's one of the guides out there at Kingfisher. So he can appreciate that bluegill. I know he's caught a bunch of them. But that fish, folks, is going into its 3rd year. That's huge. That's really big. And so I see Bill Kelly. Bill Kelly's with Dunn's Fish Farm. Barry Gann's checking in. Toronto Madonna's back in. Jim Morgan sees Ken, so now they're going to talk. So let's talk a little bit more about some of your thoughts. Oh, you know what? Here's something that's pretty cool. Ron told me this, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago. Of course, in South Louisiana, you're probably more likely to get a disease from a mosquito than you are. I mean, we're way, way, way away from New Orleans, and they're kind of getting slam dunked by that virus. And so Thanks, Bob Brock. Good to see you. Patches Olson's checking in. Troy Goldsby. Troy's in the pond management business over there in Alabama, Tennessee area. Good to see him. Chris Steelman's back in. Steve Holmes from Missouri's checking in. Steve, we're way out in South Louisiana right now. We're social distancing from the rest of the world out here on the pond bank. And so Ron told me about this little idea that he had, because when you come out in South Louisiana, they have bugs, mosquitoes, gnats.
Yeah.
So he came up with this idea. That's a pretty cool idea. Tell us about that.
I don't want to take credit for it. I did some research. So I'm sure in southern states, Alabama, Georgia, actually I got this guy, the idea, just doing some research on deer flies, not horse flies, but deer flies. They're much smaller and they're much quicker. They
bite the snot out of you.
They will drive you nuts.
We get those at our house. We get in the pond and those things will land on you and bite the snot out of you.
Yeah, so I was doing some research and I found an article of he was actually, I think he was a professor at Florida State, but he was bush hogging his land one day, and the deer flies, he got off the tractor. I mean, they'll drive you nuts. In fact, there was there's a time during the summertime, I could only enjoy this place during the fall, spring, and winter. When it would get into April, like it's hot today. There was a few out today.
Yeah, it's close to 90.
The deer flies would they're infested. They get in your nose, they get in your eye, they get in your ears. You can't enjoy it. I mean, you look like a complete psychopath, running around. So anyway, I read this article about this guy. His wife fixed him a drink in a blue Solo cup, fixed him some tea on his tractor, and he rode around, and he realized that the deer flies went to this blue Solo cup.
Huh. Leave it to a professor on a tractor to figure that out.
So I got the idea of, this is gonna be funny. I am crazy, but so I ordered me some blue Solo cups.
Okay.
And ordered this stuff. It's called Tangle Trap. It's a sticky coating. It's the coating. It's the glue that fly traps are made of.
Okay.
Hanging fly traps.
Yeah.
All right. $10 on Amazon.
And it's backwards, which I didn't turn the dadgum phone around. So it's called Tangle Trap. Well, they can't see it because it's reading backwards because I didn't turn my phone around. Tangle Trap. So what'd you do? So tell us what you did with it.
I ordered me so what I did, I got some blue Solo cups, and I put some rubber. I drilled some holes in it, put some rubber bands, and I hung a blue Solo cup. I put this stuff on a blue Solo cup. I walked around here, and they were all over the place. They were all over that cup. It was unbelievable. So I got the idea of, can you see this?
Yeah.
All right, blue. I don't know if any other color, if a red would work. I don't know. I just stuck with blue. So ordered me a $10 hard hat, which I was building this place, so I needed a hard hat.
Everybody needs a hard hat.
But I'm out here in the woods. I don't care if anybody sees. Nobody's gonna see me. If they do, I can promise you. But I'm fixing to tell you, I would last out here longer than you would. So I got a little paintbrush, and I put the coating of this Tangle Trap. It's like you can brush it on, you can paint it on. And I walk around here, and you can walk around here, and you can catch every single deer fly on his property. And this is an old hat. This is actually a Texas Rangers hat. I like Texas Rangers. But this is what it looks like. I don't know if y'all can see that. This from last year.
That's hilarious.
There's some other stuff on it, but it's that's deer flies.
Deer flies. It looks like mosquitoes and gnats and a little bit of gravel where somebody fell down in it.
Yep.
That's nice.
See, I look like a Texas Ranger.
There you go.
And
you're playing as much as they are right now.
It absolutely works. It's fun.
Opening day.
It's fun to do. I'm telling you, before I did not come out here during the summertime because of the deer flies.
Yeah, that's
now
a shame.
I come out here because it's fun to catch them. They buzz on your head. Here goes the feeder.
Oh, there goes the feeder again. Let's see what happens. There they go. Man, no wonder your fish are so big. You feed them 4 times a day.
Feed them whatever they can eat, and they're supposed to, what they can eat in 15 minutes. They wipe it. Right now they're wiping it out.
Yep. All right, so I see Chris Stillman back up. Gary Wilkerson checking in. He's a good fisherman, real good fisherman. Dion Myers, Scott Miller checking in again. Rob Wheaton. Jeff Howe, great angler there. Jeff Howe, Kyle Bookout in the real estate business. Bill Miller, haven't seen Bill Miller in a while.
Look at here. I just want to do some advertising for
Holy
Bob.
cow, what are you doing?
Yeah. All pond balls.
Gee whiz. Are you a hoarder?
Oh, Hey, you can go back and read these. You can't just read it one time. You can go back and read the information in these magazines or into live shows like he does in the Pond Boss. Ask the Boss in the magazine. Unbelievable. I don't see how this guy does what he does. You know,
It's just fun, man.
The free information, it is fun. And
well, here's the way I see.
Thank you, Bob Lusk.
You're welcome, man. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Kyle Bookout, he's in the real estate business. He sells farms and ranchers. I see Jason Cheever checking in. John True is a premier deer breeder raiser. He's all over that. You know, I see you got a sign that tells about your company. It's going to be backwards. So let's talk about your company.
It's just I'm by myself. It's a one-man show.
Yep.
I've got my wife, you know, doing the computer part of it. My son helps me, but it's basically me.
So what do you do? What's your gig?
I will take a pond, whatever the pond needs. Somebody calls me and they want to, you know, they want to add 100 bass. You know, so learning from Bob, you know, I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna ask him some questions. I'm just not gonna give anybody fish. I want to know the history of the pond. I want to know their goals. I want to know why they want to do what they want to do. Just like me, you know, before I got into pond or studying pond management, you know, I would fish ponds, a bunch of ponds, and our thought was always to let everything go, you know, let them get bigger. That's not the case, you know. We learned that, and for the most part, I've fished crappie ponds with little old bitty tiny fish. You know, there's always going to be, if there's a body of water, there's going to be a big fish, but even those big fish should probably be bigger. You know, in a managed pond, you know, we can get these fish just a better quality fishery. A pond is something that's on your land. If we have a hurricane or a tornado, that pond's still going to be here after your house is gone.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
My idea was
they talk about that here, hurricanes and tornadoes.
Yeah, so to help people, you know, a lot of people are just discouraged with their ponds. They don't know what to do with it.
Hey Chase, can you catch a fish?
Chase, we need a red ear.
Yeah, see if you can catch
a
something.
red ear.
Or just whatever you can catch. Let's people want to see some fish, man. That'd be good. Tim Stewart's asking how big the bluegill are after 2.5 years. It looks like the top end of bluegills after 2.5 years are about 9 inches.
This is the biggest one. I actually caught it today, but I have a bunch of 8.5s. I actually have some. I caught some 9-inch red ear yesterday.
So they're probably 1/3 of a pound to 1/2 a pound.
I've never weighed one. I'm just fired up to. You know, I didn't expect the growth to be that. I knew they were big, but just, you know, within the past couple of days, like, man, wow.
You know, Jim Morgan just said crappie or crappie. You know, I thought that when he said it, but he literally meant a crappie pond. A crappie, not crappie,
crappie
and
pond.
not crappie from the northeast. It's a crappie like crappie pond.
Dumpy.
There's no good fish in it.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna kind of blow Ron up a little bit. Ron started ringing my number more than my wife did for about 4 or 5 months, asking me questions.
Got to.
And I was thrilled. I love talking to him. And he asked some really thoughtful questions. And then once we figured out that he was going to get into pond management business some more, well, we kind of started gearing it toward that.
I want to show him what we catch him.
Jason Nepstad says, is that more feeders? No, there's only one feeder out here, and the fish just flock to it, man. But anyway, what's going on? Yeah, Tim Stewart says that's decent. He lives in South Florida in Okeechobee. So now here's what you just did. You just set a standard for a guy that's highly competitive.
Let's go, man.
That was at the, okay, hey, if there's a challenge, I think Ron might be in. Now, you're a little bit lower latitude than he is, but he's got a head start on you. So you got something you can shoot for now. And
hey,
maybe,
but give me a call. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll give you his number. You guys can chit-chat. But the thing, one of the things I love about Ron is his learning curve is steep, but he's really, really interested. And I love that fact. And I love the fact that the questions he's asking, he's not only asking to help himself, he's asking so he can help people out. So his learning curve is steep, but his experience curve is even steeper. So now he's taking on some clients and he's helping them grow some fish. So he's learning as he goes, and his experience is catching up, and it's going to catch up with his knowledge before long. And you know, I'd be proud to refer Ron to anybody right here around the Lake Charles area if you need some help growing some fish or with some water chemistry. Look at there's Diana. checking in. Let's see here. I saw her on there, Dana Von Lou. There she is. Yeah, she's in the marketing business up in St. Louis area. So glad to see Diana checking in. Scott Miller says, what are y'all using for bait? Well,
Chase, come here.
tell him the story.
Well, yeah.
He decided he was going to try to catch some of these bluegill, and so he went and bought what all did you buy?
Well, you know, so you go fishing, you fish for brim or crappie, white perch, whatever, sockeye. You know, so you buy crickets, you buy worms, you buy shiners. We bought all that. Nothing. And it got frustrating. It's like, man, these fish are here. Look at them feeding. You can see that they're about thousands. They're just, every time the feeder goes off, you know, they're like piranhas. So just one day is like, you know what?
An epiphany. Aquamax 600 on a hook.
How about the fish? This is a size 4 hook to catch these big fish. You know, I put a bigger, I use a bigger hook. The Aquamax 600 is probably one of the biggest pellets besides the largemouth bass pellets.
That's right.
And so, man, it works. You know what? That's what they eat four times a day. So why not put it on a hook?
So that's what he does. So we're going to see if Chase can catch a fish, and when he catches one, he'll bring it up here and let us look at it. Melissa Wilner's checking in. Dr. Wilner is a fisheries biologist. She lives in Nebraska now, teaching fisheries. Bill Kelly says, good job, guys. Scott Stewart, Scott Miller, we just answered that question. Devin Fabian checking in. She is part of my family. Good to see Devin checking in. So, and by the way, you're not fishing, you're sampling.
Yeah.
Especially when you put fish food on the hook.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of cheating, but you know what? When you have a...
Cheating? I think it's like real.
Well, it is, you know, when you have a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid here.
Yeah.
And
you want them to catch a fish.
They're not catching anything. I don't care what I got to do.
They're gonna.
When my wife comes out here, she wants to catch a fish. I know what to catch them on.
There you go.
And
Aquamax 600.
And you know, these fish are now is like you know, like my brother-in-law. He was here the other day, and it's really cool whenever you know, these guys who fish, you know, big lakes all the time.
Yep.
Their kid catches a fish, and they say, "Oh man, that must be a bass," and they pull it in. It's a big old bluegill. So these fish are getting big, and there's something right about this pond and what we're doing. So we're gonna keep doing it. If I got to catch them on fish food, that's what we're going to use.
Now, you've also got some pretty big red ear going on in here.
Got some big red ear.
How big are they now? They're probably even a little bit bigger than the biggest ones. They're probably a little bigger than the bluegill are right now.
The biggest fish, the biggest brim that I've caught, and I mean, it's crazy because, well, here comes Bob. I gotta get after it. I gotta fish. We gotta check these fish out. I've caught, you know, the red ear about 9 inches. They're about as big as the biggest bluegill I caught was today, and that was a fish I just showed you.
9 inches.
So they're growing.
And that 9 inch,
they're growing overnight.
That one's got to be half a pound or maybe even a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I'm ready. But like I said, I'm waiting. You know, in the next year or so, I know that I'm gonna have to make an adjustment somewhere. With any pond, you know, you guys, if y'all tune in to Bob, you know that it's constantly changing. So expect to make a change sometime.
So earlier you were talking about you're on point to be proactive. To be able to make a change, what's going to trigger you to make that choice?
If I see the growth starting to slow down.
Of what?
Of the bluegill.
Okay, so what you're thinking there is, if I see the growth rates of my bluegill slow down, especially on the bigger fish that are separating themselves from the rest, what are you going to do about it?
I'm thinking maybe there's probably, you know, there's fish that are getting.
Chase has got one on.
Oh no.
Oh, we lost it. Almost. All right, so anyway, so I interrupted you. If
I see the growth rate start to slow down, I know something's happening, and the way they're spawning, I'm probably figuring that they're over spawning, that there might be, or these younger fish are catching up to these bigger bluegill and outrunning them to the fish food. So I may need to start taking the next size class of those fish out, whether I need to seine it or throw a cast net. I want to keep these big fish growing.
Okay, so what you're watching for is you're a little bit concerned that your bluegill might get crowded enough that it's going to upset the growth rates of the best bluegill. Right. So that's what you're looking for right now.
Right.
And if that happens, you're going to be prepared to cull a few bluegills, but you're going to be culling those underperformers and maybe young of the year. And since these fish are growing so good, you might be able to use some of those to stock other ponds with around here.
And you know, really paying attention to the pond. Pay attention to the fish. I pay attention to where the fish are caught. Most of the bigger fish are in deeper water, and the smaller fish are beating them to the fish food.
Gotcha.
I believe that. So I think there's going to be a point in time where all these fish are going to catch up, and I'm just going to have to start weaning.
And you can only feed so many fish.
And I mean, in a 6 or 7 inch bluegill, that's a good eating fish.
Sure, it is.
That's big.
So you'll start filleting a few bluegills.
Right.
There.
Yeah, and that's the key.
All right.
Filleting them, not just killing them and all, but having fish big enough to fillet. That's pretty cool.
I see Scott Hornsey checking in. Scott's a Purina rep from the San Antonio area. Renee Pullen Huddle lives over near Canton, Texas. Tricia Miles is a good friend of ours, and there's Amy Taylor. We just got to meet Amy there's a winery right behind my office.
Oh.
We got to meet Amy here about 2 weeks ago before we were quarantined. They kind of make that. Yep. I don't think they have any goblets though,
Chase, you can't catch
like we do.
on live TV.
So anyway, he's trying to put pressure on Chase over there. Chase just had a stellar year as a senior over here for the local high school football team, and just an outstanding young man. Ron and Jen have raised an outstanding son, and they're proud of him. And here he is over here. If he can catch a fish, they'll be even more proud of him.
Yeah, catch a fish, buddy. Get on TV.
Hey, no pressure, dude. Catch a fish, will you? We're going to run out of time.
Don't make me get up there and catch it for you.
All right, so what you're thinking is you may have to come up with a strategy to call a few bluegills. Do you think the bass will help you do that?
If they have a good spawn.
Yep.
And we need to figure that out.
But you haven't verified that, because your bass are now 2 years old, and you got some that are 2.5 pounds. So we know that some of those are big enough that if they haven't spawned yet this spring, they're getting ready to. I saw a bass nest look
I heard
like
the
that.
bullfrogs croaking.
Hey, that's when the bass are spawning.
There's beds here. I mean, we can see fish on beds.
Okay.
The problem with the bass, and we talked about it, and with such a huge or healthy bluegill population, these bass. And get ready for this, pond owners who have first-year ponds, and you've got a good food chain, you might not catch those bass like you think you're going to catch them.
Well, so you stocked 125 in a 3/4 acre pond, and if you went out there right now trying to target some bass, how many would you catch?
You might not catch a fish today. I don't know. He's been fishing for 30 minutes.
Did you even get a hit on a bass?
I caught one.
You caught one?
He caught one, didn't show it to us.
Because I was way over there.
We were talking.
You should have swam. But it doesn't mean that, I got people come over here, my friends pick on me, man, you don't have any fish in there, but you can see them. I just think there's so much forage or so much food in here that, man, you want steak or salad, you want Skittles or you want T-bone steak.
Yes, yep. Tim Stewart just piped in. He says, I doubt your bass will help because it's your biggest bluegill you'll need to thin.
I don't know.
Let's talk about that. Why would you thin your biggest bluegills?
I want my biggest bluegills to stay in here because they're big for a reason. That's one, genetics, and they're big for a reason, and that's God gave them the gift to be big.
So in this environment, now
that's just my opinion.
Here's we'll put a little science behind that opinion. There's a process, and Dr. Wilner can chime in on this if she wants to. Make it. Holy cow! I don't know what's going on. It's weird. It's still going. So we lost the connection for a second. So anyway, plasticity means that there's going to be a fraction, some percentage of fish that are going to thrive in this environment. But if you took those same ones and you move them to another environment even half a mile away, they may not thrive in that environment. So he's going to protect the best of the best because they're going to do two things. They're going to reproduce fish of similar ilk, and they're going to keep the smaller fish off the beds and make them outgrow those original big fish. So when you got a fish that's 9 inches long, that's 2.5 years old, and is just now getting sexually mature, it may top out at 10 or 11 inches. It'll be the next size down that's going to be the ones that come up and get bigger. And you know, with as many bluegill as you have, I mean, it would turn into work to try to harvest that many fish.
You'd have to either seine them or cast net them or.
Yeah, or I mean, you've got a little neck right here. You can seine these fish up and do something with them.
That's the direction I think I'm headed. Probably not this year, but maybe next year or the next. I'm just, as a pond management, I'm looking ahead.
Yes,
I'm looking ahead.
Jim Morgan just put up a picture of a 3.25 pound bluegill that came out of Kingfisher, Richmond Mill Lake. So let's see what else we got here. I see Bear Brundrette back on. Wendell Huffines is checking in. He's one of our neighbors. So you know what? I want to stop so we can take the phone up there, the camera, so people can see what the caban looks like and show the pond around. And then you can kind of see what else Ron's got going on here.
Y'all want to see me and Bob race around the levee?
Yeah, that won't take long. It won't for me. I'll fall down on the dam in a minute. So let's do this. If you're in the Lake Charles, Louisiana area and you're looking for some pond management help, some advice, some counsel, call Ron. Tell him your last name.
Ardoin.
Ardoin.
A-R-D-O-I-N.
A-R-D-O. It's not Ardoin or Ardoin. It's Ardoin.
Or just if you
Like
just want to
Boudin.
talk and ask me what some of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
And I learned from you too. So.
Give him a call. All right, here we go, Tim Stewart. Here comes there's Gerald Adrian checking in. Good to see you, Gerald. Need to call and catch up with you one of these days, buddy. Okay, here's Ron's phone number, 337-794-9118. Let me say it again, 337-794-9118. And we're knocking on the door at 7:25, so we're running out of time. So I'm going to take this phone off, and I'm going to hand it to you.
You're handing it to me?
Yep. And you're going to be the phone boss.
So I can fall down with it?
Yeah, you fall down with it. And just take it like that. Look here, see this? And take everybody, take it up there. Show people around and to kind of stay in front where they can see you. And tell them what you got going on.
All right, can I get over here? Look.
Yeah.
Well, this is my son Chase. Is trying to catch a red here. There's my wife over there. Where are you going? Come here.
I'm going over here.
Okay, she's gone. That's my buddy Chase.
Hey, y'all.
Love him to death. Great kid. But here's where Bob is staying tonight. We're fixing to feed him some gumbo. He's already eaten some crawfish bread and drank 2 bottles of wine. Most of my beer. I'm sorry, Miss Debbie. He's a good man. But this is my little place in the woods. It's my pride and joy. And there it is. And there's Mr. Bob Lusk. And I really appreciate him coming down here. And been a weird few weeks with all the corona stuff. We're saying, keeping everybody in our hearts and prayers. And
Yes, exactly.
never thought I'd be in a coronavirus situation, and then Bob Lusk being at my caban. So thank y'all.
Here we are. All right, so folks, thanks for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. I will figure out why this thing cut in half at 7 o'clock. It's got to be a data situation, which I don't know what it is. Ron, thanks for hosting this.
Thank you.
I was
Thanks
kinda-
for coming down.
Kind of glad to get out of the house for a few hours, and
Oh, Miss Debbie, that's a nice
So-
woman. I know she's a nice woman.
she is. She's the nicest woman on the planet.
I'm upset we didn't get the chance to meet her, but I know that's coming.
That'll happen when we reschedule the
We'll have to do
Institute of Our Pondology.
another gumbo.
And you can also tell what Ron does. He's got all kinds of fish attractors laying around everywhere.
Mark Masden, here's it.
Yep. American Fish Tree laying over there. There's Joe Sipes. Joe Sipes is a real well-known fisherman, a Christian, good, strong Christian. Drew Hay. All right, folks, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for sharing this time with us. We really appreciate it. You guys keep the nation in our prayers, and we'll see you next Wednesday, and I will figure out this data thing. So until then, adios.